Valerie Bertinelli, the text that ended everything. Imagine giving 10 years of your life to something. Not just showing up, not just doing your job and going home. Actually pouring yourself into it. Your real stories, your real kitchen, your real heartbreak, and letting millions of strangers into all of it week after week for nearly a decade. Now imagine finding out it's over through a text message, not a phone call, not a sit-down meeting, not even a proper email. A text passed through a third party, like you were a contractor whose parking pass had expired. That's what happened to Valerie Bertinelli. And once you understand the full picture, the grief she was hiding on set, the corporate machine that swallowed the network she helped build, and the audience that refused to let go, you realize this story is about a lot more than one canceled show. Most people under 35 know Valerie Bertinelli from Food Network. But here's what a lot of folk forget. She was already a household name long before she ever cooked anything on camera. Born in 1960 in Wilmington, Delaware, Bertinelli grew up in a family that moved constantly. Her father worked for General Motors, which meant the family was always packing up and starting over Michigan, Louisiana, Oklahoma City, Los Angeles. Different schools, different friends, different cities, over and over again before she even turned 10. That kind of childhood does one of two things to a kid. It either makes him withdrawn and closed off, or it teaches him how to walk into any room and make people feel at ease within minutes. For Bertinelli, it was the second one. At 15 years old, she landed the role of Barbara Cooper on the sitcom One Day at a Time. And she didn't just land the role. She owned it. 2 Golden Globe Awards for Best Supporting Actress. At 15, the kind of warmth and relatability she brought to that character planted something in the audience's memory that would follow her for the next 50 years. Adult roles kept coming. Touched by an Angel, then Hot in Cleveland, which ran from 2010 to 2015 and earned her a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2012. By the time Food Network came calling, Bertinelli wasn't desperate for work. She wasn't reinventing herself out of necessity. Cooking was a genuine love, something she had always done for family, for comfort, for connection. The network just gave that love a camera and an audience. And the audience showed up. Valerie Bertinelli joined Food Network in 2015 with a show called Valerie's Home Cooking. The concept sounds simple on paper. She cooked food from her real life. She talked about family memories and what certain dishes meant to her. She treated the camera like it was a friend sitting at her kitchen table, not a performance to impress judges. No drama, no elimination rounds, no mystery ingredients with a timer counting down. Just food, warmth, and honesty. The show ran for 14 seasons. Let that number sink in for a second. 14 seasons. In an industry where most shows are lucky to survive 3, Valerie's Home Cooking kept going year after year because people kept genuinely choosing to watch it. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when something real is on screen. That same year she started a cooking show, she also joined Kids Baking Championship as co-host alongside cake artist Duff Goldman. Watching children compete in baking competitions requires a very specific kind of hosting, patient, encouraging, emotionally present. You can't fake that energy with kids. They see through it immediately. Bertinelli brought exactly what the show needed, and it worked. 2 Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Culinary Host. Then 2 more Food Network shows in 2019, Family Food Showdown and Family Restaurant Rivals. In 2018, the network signed Bertinelli to a multi-series exclusive deal. That deal was the network essentially saying, "You are not just one of our hosts. You are part of what this channel is." Audiences associate your face with the entire experience of turning on Food Network on a Sunday morning. That deal would later become the center of everything that went wrong. On April 8, 2022, Discovery Incorporated completed a merger with Warner Media, the company that owned Food Network. The new combined company became Warner Brothers Discovery, one of the largest media conglomerates on the planet. On paper, it made sense. 2 big companies combining to better compete with Netflix and the streaming giants eating everyone's lunch. Cut costs, streamline operations, position for the future. In practice, it meant one very specific thing for every single person working at every channel under that combined umbrella. Jobs were going to be cut. Contracts were going to be scrutinized. and the executives who had built relationships with talent over the previous decade, the people who understood why Valerie Bertinelli mattered to Food Network's identity, those people were among the first to leave during the restructuring. When the leadership that championed you walks out the door, you become vulnerable immediately because the people replacing them don't have the same investment. To them, you're a line item. Bertinelli's multi-series deal, originally signed in 2018 and extended by 1 year under the old regime, ran out in 2022. It expired at the exact moment when new leadership, under enormous pressure to cut costs and rethink programming strategy, was deciding who represented the future of the network. The timing was not a coincidence. To understand what happened to Bertinelli, you have to understand what happened to Food Network itself. The channel launched in 1993 with one clear purpose: teaching people how to cook. 30-minute meals, good eats, barefoot Contessa. Personalities like Rachel Ray, Alton Brown, and Ina Garten built an audience that came to the channel to actually learn something. Every episode ended with a viewer knowing more than when they started. Then the competition format showed up. Chopped beat Bobby Flay. Endless baking championships with dramatic eliminations and time pressure and mystery ingredients. And here's the dirty truth about why that happened. Competition shows are cheaper to make and generate higher short-term ratings. A cooking education show requires a skilled host, a tested format, real production investment, and years of audience building. A competition show needs a kitchen, a timer, and some random ingredients. The math was not complicated for network executives. By 2022, longtime viewers and food bloggers were all saying the same thing out loud. The Food Network had stopped teaching anyone how to cook. It had become a channel of drama and spectacle in repetitive formats that served advertisers more than audiences. Bertinelli herself said it publicly in April 2024, responding to a food blog on Threads who had expressed the same frustration. She agreed without hesitation. The golden era of educational cooking content on that channel was over. What replaced it was a business decision, and it came at the cost of something genuinely valuable. Now here's a part of this story that most people don't know, and it's the part that changes everything. While Bertinelli was showing up on set with genuine warmth and patience and professionalism, while she was hosting Kids Baking Championship and making those kids feel safe and celebrated on camera, she was privately living through what she would later call, without exaggeration, her apex year of hell. In October 2020, Eddie Van Halen passed away at 65 after a long battle with cancer. Bertinelli and Van Halen had been married for 26 years before divorcing in 2007, but their relationship had evolved into a deep, genuine friendship. His death hit her in the complicated way that only the loss of someone you've loved and grieved and made peace with can hit you. There's no clean category for that kind of grief. Then her second marriage fell apart. Bertinelli and financial planner Tom Vitale had married on New Year's Day 2011. She filed for separation in November 2021, and the divorce proceedings continued through 2022. In later interviews, she described the Vitale marriage as toxic, a word she chose carefully and deliberately. The divorce was finalized on November 22, 2022. Bertinelli later described that day publicly as the second best day of her life. When someone says their divorce finalization was the second best day of their life, you understand without being told exactly what those years inside that marriage had cost her. Now picture this woman showing up to film a children's baking competition, bringing patience, joy, and genuine encouragement, while simultaneously processing the death of someone she had loved for decades and fighting her way through a toxic marriage to a finalized divorce. She brought that composure every single day on set. The audience watching those seasons had absolutely no idea. In January 2024, Valerie Bertinelli confirmed publicly what had happened at the end of 2022. Food Network had not called. No meeting was scheduled. No conversation happened between Bertinelli and network leadership about the future of their relationship. The confirmation that she would not be returning to Kids Baking Championship for a 13th season arrived through a third party, communicated via text message. For someone who had spent nearly a decade as a cornerstone of that network, who had won 2 daytime Emmys for the channel, who had hosted a show that ran 14 seasons, who had built the kind of audience loyalty that networks spend millions of dollars trying to manufacture, a text message through a third party wasn't just bad manners. It was a statement about what the institution thought the relationship had been worth. Bertinelli posted an Instagram video on January 20th, 2024, and she didn't dress it up. She acknowledged the decision was business-related, probably budget cuts under the new corporate structure. She also acknowledged that it hurt, without apology, because why would she apologize for having been genuinely invested? Celebrity support came quickly. Khloe Kardashian, Mark Hamill, fans who had watched Valerie's home cooking for years flooded the comments with frustration and solidarity. That response said something important. The audience had not been indifferent to the gradual disappearance of educational cooking content from the network. They had noticed. They had been quietly disappointed for years. And when Bertinelli was removed, that quiet disappointment finally had something specific to grieve. Every article covering this story focused on the budget cuts angle, on the contract numbers, on the corporate strategy. What almost nobody said out loud is this: Bertinelli wasn't simply too expensive. She represented a type of television that Food Network had decided to deprioritize. Competition shows generate spikes. A big elimination, a dramatic moment, a viral clip. These things drive short-term numbers. But they don't build a kind of audience that organizes their Sunday morning around a show, references recipes years later, and feels something real when that show disappears. Educational cooking shows built around a trusted, consistent personality over many years. Those build habitual loyalty, the kind of loyalty that travels with a person, not the platform. 14 seasons of Valerie's home cooking. 12 seasons as co-host of Kids Baking Championship. That's not just viewer numbers, that's a relationship. And the audience response after her departure wasn't casual disappointment. It was a reaction of people who had lost something that had become part of their routine. The network traded that deep, durable loyalty for cheaper content and easier short-term metrics. That's a legitimate business decision in a difficult media environment. But the cost of it was measured in exactly the kind of trust that takes a decade to build and disappears the moment the contract does. 2 months after the Food Network news went public, Bertinelli made another announcement. A new relationship. No details. No name. Just gratitude and happiness from a woman who had publicly described losing the ability to trust anyone romantically during the years of a difficult marriage. A new cookbook, Indulge, was announced alongside a tour. Other platform offers were described as being evaluated. And in 2024, the options available to a personality with Bertinelli's established audience trust were genuinely broader than they had ever been before. YouTube channels with millions of subscribers, streaming platform deals, direct audience connection through social media. Here's the thing the network miscalculated. The fans who watched 14 seasons of Valerie's home cooking were not loyal to Food Network. They were loyal to Bertinelli. When the contract ended, she didn't lose the audience. She took it with her. The institution made a business decision. The audience made a loyalty decision. Those two decisions pointed in completely different directions. The Valerie Bertinelli situation wasn't unique to her or to Food Network. In the 2022 to 2024 period, the Warner Brothers Discovery merger was one of dozens of corporate consolidations forcing large entertainment companies to choose short-term cost reduction over long-term relationship building. Talent representing educational, consistent, personality-driven content found themselves in the same position across the industry, genuinely valuable to audiences, but expensive relative to cheaper competition formats that dominated scheduling decisions. What Bertinelli's exit made visible was the human cost sitting behind the spreadsheet logic. Behind the contract numbers was a woman who had filmed seasons of television during the most painful period of her life, because the work mattered to her, and because the audience on the other side of that camera was real. The institution responded to that commitment with a text message through a third party. The audience didn't forget, and Bertinelli, by every indication, wasn't done building. No institution owns an audience relationship built through genuine warmth and consistent presence over a decade. That relationship belongs to the person who built it. The Food Network learned that the hard way. And Valerie Bertinelli? She was already building the next chapter before anyone finished writing the headline about the last one. If this story stayed with you, drop a comment. What do you think Valerie Bertinelli should do next? And subscribe if you want more stories that go past a headline and find out what actually happened.